All right, so listen to this. New Year's Day in Vegas. A Tesla Cybertruck explodes outside Trump International Hotel.
Wow.
I know, right? Fireworks, a possible bomb, a Green Beret driver who's found dead.
Yeah,
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's a wild story.
You guys sent in the AP News article on it, wanting to, unpack what happened. So let's dive in.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely got all the elements of a thriller for sure, but it's crucial to separate the facts from speculation, right? Like, we need to take a close look at the evidence and see what story it tells.
Exactly. The article lays out the basics. January 1st, 2025, this explosion rocks the Trump Hotel. 7 people injured. Thankfully, not seriously.
Right.
But the driver, Matthew Livelsberger, a 37-year-old Green Beret, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
And what's immediately intriguing to me is that the Cybertruck itself seems to have contained much of the blast, limiting the damage. Those steel walls Tesla boasts about really did their job. So it raises the question, was a bigger, more devastating attack intended?
That's a chilling thought. So who was this guy behind the wheel? The article paints a picture of a highly decorated soldier in the Army since 2006, deployments to Afghanistan, Ukraine, you name it, 5 Bronze Stars, combat infantry badge. The real deal.
And this isn't just a list of medals. Each one represents, intense experiences, potential trauma. We have to consider what those deployments, those combat situations might do to a person psychologically. Could that be a factor here?
Definitely something to keep in mind. And get this, he just returned from Germany, was on approved leave, rented the Cybertruck in Denver on December 28th, that investigators tracked him, charging it across Colorado and New Mexico, Arizona, before he hits Vegas on January 1st.
A cross-country road trip culminating in this.
Yeah.
It's almost too cinematic. Makes you wonder what was going through his mind during those miles. What was he planning?
The article says surveillance footage shows him circling the hotel several times before the explosion. Almost like he was hesitating. Or maybe waiting for someone.
Yeah.
It's unsettling.
It is. And then there's the discrepancy between his military background and the explosives themselves described as crudely built. That doesn't quite add up, does it?
It's a head scratcher.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the investigators saying about motive? Anything concrete yet?
Not yet. They're digging into his personal life. Found out he may have had an argument with his wife shortly before the incident. They also found 2 legally purchased firearms in the truck, but so far no clear links to terrorism or any specific political group.
So we've got this decorated soldier, potentially in a personal crisis, on a cross-country trip, ending in a very public, very violent act.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack.
And we haven't even touched on the fact this happened at a Trump hotel, which, given the current political climate, throws another layer of complexity into the mix. But we have to be careful not to jump to conclusions. Let's focus on the evidence, the timeline, and see what patterns emerge.
You're right. Jumping to conclusions won't help us understand what led to this.
Yeah.
So let's break it down further. The article also mentions another incident, a truck attack in New Orleans that same day.
And both Livelsberger, our Cybertruck driver, and the New Orleans attacker spent time at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg. While investigators say there's no direct link between the incidents, it's hard to ignore that connection.
Agreed. It definitely adds to the unsettling feeling around all of this.
And
then there's Elon Musk's statement.
Right. Jumping into the fray on X, confirming the explosion was caused by explosives in the truck bed, not any fault of the Cybertruck itself. Almost like he was trying to preemptively protect Tesla's image.
Makes sense.
How?
I mean, a Tesla being used in this way, it's not exactly good PR. Plus, there's Musk's connection to Trump, his own political ventures. It's all intertwined somehow.
It definitely adds another dimension to the story. So we have a potential personal crisis, a meticulously planned journey, an act of violence at a politically charged location, another similar incident on the same day.
Yeah.
It's a web, isn't it? And we're just starting to untangle the threads. It really makes you think, though, right? Like, we're so used to seeing electric vehicles as symbols of progress, a cleaner future. But this incident throws a harsh light on their potential for misuse.
Absolutely. It's like a wake-up call, forcing us to consider the security implications of this technology. I feel like we've been so focused on the environmental benefits that we haven't really grappled with the potential downsides.
It's a classic case, I think, of the double-edged sword of technology. And it's not just the vehicles themselves, but the infrastructure that surrounds them.
Yeah.
Charging stations, data networks, all of it. It creates this whole new landscape for security experts to navigate.
It's almost like the early days of the internet, where people were so excited about the possibilities that they didn't fully grasp the potential for harm.
Right.
It took time and some hard lessons to develop the safeguards we have today.
That's a great analogy, I think. We're in a similar phase with electric vehicles. We're still figuring out how to balance the benefits with the risks, and this incident highlights just how urgent that conversation is.
And the fact that it happened at a Trump hotel adds another layer of complexity, right?
Yeah.
It immediately injects a political dimension, even though investigators haven't found any concrete evidence of a political motive.
Right. It's like this incident is a perfect storm of current anxieties, terrorism, political polarization, and the rapid advancement of technology. It's understandable why people are feeling uneasy.
Totally.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, we have to resist the urge to jump to conclusions. The investigation is still ongoing, and we're bound to learn more in the coming days and weeks.
Exactly. And as we learn more, we can hopefully start to develop strategies to mitigate these risks and prevent similar incidents from happening in the future.
So what kind of strategies are we talking about? What steps can be taken to enhance security around electric vehicles and their infrastructure?
Well, one obvious area is data security. We need to ensure that the systems that control these vehicles, from the software to the charging networks, are robust and protected from hacking or manipulation.
Makes sense. But it's not just about cybersecurity, right? There's also the physical security of the vehicles themselves.
Absolutely. We need to be thinking about how to prevent these vehicles from being used as weapons, whether that's through physical barriers, detection systems, or even modifications to the vehicles themselves.
It seems like this is going to require a lot of collaboration between different stakeholders, automakers, policymakers, security experts, and even the public.
Couldn't agree more. This isn't just a Tesla issue or a Trump hotel issue.
Right.
It's a societal issue that demands a collective response. We all have a stake in ensuring that these technologies are used safely and responsibly.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about Matthew Livelsberger, the driver.
Okay.
What can we glean from the article about his state of mind?
Well, the article mentions a possible argument with his wife shortly before the incident. That suggests a personal crisis, perhaps a breakdown in his support network.
And we know he was a highly decorated soldier with extensive combat experience. Could that have played a role?
It's certainly possible. Combat exposure can have a profound psychological impact, leading to PTSD, depression, and other mental health challenges. And while we don't have any concrete evidence that Livelsberger was suffering from these issues, it's something we can't rule out.
You're right. We tend to glorify soldiers and their sacrifices, but we often overlook the invisible wounds they carry. And in Livelsberger's case, we see how personal struggles can intersect with larger societal issues in unpredictable and tragic ways.
It's a stark reminder that behind every headline, there's a human story with complexities and nuances that we may never fully comprehend.
And speaking of complexities, let's revisit the New Orleans truck attack that happened on the same day. Even though investigators haven't found a direct link, the timing and the fact that both attackers spent time at Fort Liberty is just too eerie to ignore.
It's definitely a chilling coincidence. It makes you wonder if there's something bigger at play, a pattern or trend that we're not yet seeing. It's a reminder that we need to be constantly analyzing and reassessing our understanding of potential threats.
This whole situation feels like a giant puzzle with missing pieces. We have fragments of information, intriguing connections, but the full picture remains elusive.
That's a great way to put it. And it highlights the importance of staying curious, of digging deeper and asking tough questions. The more we understand, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges ahead.
Right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The incident itself, the security implications, the potential motives, and the unsettling connections to other events. What are some key takeaways you think our listeners should be pondering?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that we're entering uncharted territory with electric vehicles and other emerging technologies. We need to be aware of the potential risks as well as the benefits, and we need to engage in a thoughtful and proactive dialogue about how to manage those risks.
That's a great point. This incident should be a wake-up call, a catalyst for a broader conversation about the future of transportation technology and security.
Exactly. And it's a conversation that needs to involve everyone: policymakers, automakers, security experts, and everyday citizens like you and me. We all have a role to play in shaping a future where technology serves humanity rather than the other way around.
This incident, it feels like a glimpse into a future that we haven't quite figured out yet. Like the tech is advancing so fast, but our systems are thinking keeping up.
Yeah, it's a valid concern, I think. We're constantly bombarded with the shiny positive aspects of new tech electric vehicles, in this case being touted as the solution to so many problems.
Right.
But this incident forces us to confront the the darker possibilities, the unintended consequences we haven't even considered yet.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really sticking with me, this notion of unintended consequences. Like, we're so focused on making things faster, more efficient, more convenient.
Right.
But do we fully grasp the potential downsides?
It's like we're playing catch-up almost, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to fit existing ethical frameworks onto situations that are brand new, that evolve faster than our ability to regulate or even comprehend them.
So where do we go from here? How do we as a society approach these rapid advancements in a way that's both responsible and, well, safe?
It starts with awareness, I think, with acknowledging that every innovation has the potential for both good and bad. We can't just blindly celebrate progress without also considering the risks. And it's not just the responsibility of the inventors and manufacturers. It's on all of us.
So what can we as individuals do? It feels a bit overwhelming, like these huge societal shifts are beyond our control.
Yeah, it's easy to feel that way. But I think our power lies in being informed consumers, engaged citizens. You know, we need to ask questions, demand transparency, hold those in power accountable for the technologies they're unleashing.
So not just passively accepting the latest gadget, but really thinking critically about its impact, both positive and negative.
Exactly. And that critical thinking needs to extend to how we discuss these issues, how we frame the narrative. You know, this incident, for example, it's easy to get caught up in the sensationalism, the political angles.
Yeah.
But we need to dig deeper, look beyond the headlines to understand the underlying factors at play.
Like we've been doing in this deep dive, right? Trying to piece together the puzzle, considering the psychological impact on the individual, the security gaps in the technology itself, the societal context that might have contributed to this event.
Precisely. It's complex and there are no easy answers. But by engaging in these difficult conversations, by asking tough questions, we can hopefully start to build a framework for a more responsible, more secure future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big question you'd want our listener to walk away with?
I think the most crucial question, the one we all need to be asking ourselves, is this. What are the potential unintended consequences of the technologies we're embracing today? And how can we both individually and collectively work to mitigate those risks while still harnessing the power of innovation?
That's a powerful question, and one that I hope stays with our listener long after this episode is over. It's been a fascinating, albeit unsettling journey exploring this case with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listener, I encourage you to stay curious, keep digging, and never stop questioning the world around you. The future is being shaped right now, and our voices, our informed choices matter more than ever.
Couldn't have said better myself. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another thought-provoking topic, ready to explore the complexities of our ever-changing world. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious.